This video is entitled Using Diagrams.net to Draw a Conceptual Data Model. This isn't in the book Introduction to Database Systems Modeling and Administration, but it's the diagramming tool that I use to generate all of the diagrams in the book. And if you're taking a course with me in database systems modeling and administration, then this is the tool that I would suggest you use to draw these diagrams. And I'll open diagrams.net in my web browser, and I'll be using the web browser based version of it and a bunch of custom shapes that I have created, and I'll show you how to install those custom shapes. You should have download instructions of where to get those custom shapes either from the website for the book or from the Blackboard site that I've given to you. So in our web browser, we have opened it up and we have gone to diagrams.net in our address bar, or we've Googled it and looked it up. And when we go to diagrams.net in the web browser, we'll be brought up with this. Do we want to create a new diagram or do we want to open an existing diagram? And I'm going to say create new diagram, at which point then it's going to ask me to give the diagram a name and bring up a dialog of various types of diagrams. I'm not going to sweat that. I'm just going to call this diagram demo at this point. I'm going to come down here and create, and we now have the user interface for diagrams.net where we have our menu of options. We have shapes, and there are hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of shapes. We're going to add some shapes. There are also properties of the diagram, and when we click on a shape or an arrow or a line, connecting line, we'll see properties of that appear over here in the properties box. Now, I have a library of custom shapes that I use and that I recommend you use, and it's a file called a scratchpad. There'll be a description. There'll be a link in the comments about this video of where to download the scratchpad that I'm using, or you'll be able to get it from our Blackboard site for class. But once you download the scratchpad, open up your downloads folder. Now, if you're using Windows, it'll look a little different. This is a Linux box, but it works the same. And just click on it, drag that scratchpad over here into the Draw IO interface. You see how the orange lit up all the way around, and just let go. And now we have a scratch pad of a whole bunch of shapes. The ORM unary, a unary with a one and only one, a binary with a one on one side, a binary with a one on both sides. There's a binary with it on the left side and on the right side. There's a ternary, and there are a whole bunch of additional shapes that we'll be using for other types of diagrams this semester or this as we go through this book. So, diagrams.net is a business drawing program. It's not like Paint or Word Art or something like that. This is a serious business level drawing program. And the really cool thing about diagrams.net, also known as Draw.io, is that we can create really cool professional looking diagrams very easy. And when we connect the arrows stay connected, which makes reorganizing and cleaning up and making things look good so much easier. For instance, let's create that simple diagram. Let's just think of a diagram off the top of our heads. Uh, let's just do the vehicle of the vehicle owner relationship that we did and discussed in our relationships video, where a vehicle has one owner, and a owner can have many vehicles. So let's do that. So I'm just going to grab the rounded rectangle shape. Just come over here and grab the let me scoot my head. Let me scoot my head over. Well, I can't do that right now. Hold on. Let me see if I can scoot my head. No. Oh yeah, here we go. Let's scoot my head over. Nope, wrong thing. There. Let's scoot me over to here. Great. So now that I'm scooted over, I can come back. So I'm going to grab the rounded rectangle and I'm going to just drop a rounded rectangle. And then I'm going to grab the rounded rectangle for vehicle. And I'm just going to drop the rounded rectangle. Notice the Draw.io gives me lines and markers so that I can line things up. I'll just align those up horizontally, and then I'm going to double click on the shape and notice how we now get an icon, a cursor in the middle. So I can just type owner, and then in the other one I can type vehicle. Nice. And then I just need to connect them. To connect, I can use these connection tools up here. And this defines what arrowheads by default, and we can change the arrowheads. But right now I don't want an arrowhead on this line, so I'm going to choose just a straight line. Actually, it doesn't let me choose that, does it? Okay, we'll fix it in a second. Um, and then I get to choose the type of line. Do I want a line that is straight, that will always be straight? Do I want a line that will have right angles? Do I want it to be a zigzag or a curvy line? I kind of like either a straight line or a line with right angles just because it makes the diagram rather clean. And I'm going to come here to owner and watch what happens when I hover over the box. You'll notice that on the little box you'll see all these little blue X's all the way around the box. Those are handles where we're going to connect our arrow to. Those are arrow or line connection handles that we're going to. And if we come to a handle, we could then come to a handle and drag off of that handle. Let's undo that. So I'm going to come here and grab a hold of that handle. See how it lights up? And I'm going to click and drag. And notice I get an arrow, and I'm going to connect that arrow to a handle on the other shape. So I'm going to connect it to that handle and let go. And I now have an arrow that connects those two shapes. Now, I'd like to get rid of that arrowhead. Actually, I need that box in the middle, don't I? Well, so let's delete that and let's put that box in the middle. So a vehicle has one owner, but an owner can have multiple vehicles. So I've just grabbed that shape, put it here. Now, let's draw our line from here to there and from there to there using those handles. Now I want to get rid of the arrowhead, and if I click on the arrow, I can then see the arrow's properties over here on the properties side, and I can get rid of the arrowhead, and I can come here on this arrow and get rid of the arrowhead. So now I've got it without arrowheads. Great. I can move that. Notice when I move it, the lines automatically redraw and keep themselves looking pretty good. I don't like that quite. There we go. Let's just move things around until I get everything all lined up nice and pretty. And we can see that an owner owns many vehicles and a vehicle must have only one owner. So I can come in here and click owns um, owned by. So drawing a conceptual data model is easy. And the cool thing is, again, with Draw.io or with diagrams.net, same program, two different names, is that if you move an entity or you move a box, it stays connected. So if you decide, oh, I don't like the way this is laid out, I want it to laid out vertically, well, that's kind of kludgy, but we could easily then click on the arrow and disconnect it and connect it to a different move handle, connect it to a different handle. Oh, and if you notice what I did there by connecting it to the center of the shape, instead of connecting it to the edge, I connect it to the whole shape. Now it automatically kind of reroutes around the shape, which makes it even easier than there's nothing, in my opinion, that looks less professional than a line or an arrow that doesn't connect on both ends. So don't leave your lines disconnected. Connect them to either the shape itself or to one of the handles so that when you move things around, things stay connected automatically and your diagram stays very crisp and clean. So when you're done, just go File, Save, and it will download it into your Downloads folder. It will download it into your Downloads folder because it's a web browser thing. Then if you want to include this diagram into your Word file or a Word document, or you want to include it on a web page, it's in the Draw.io format. So you really can't open that with another application or embed that into an application. I suggest you go File, Export, export as, and you can export it as a PNG, a JPEG, a WebP, or an SVG. I suggest exporting it as either a PNG or an SVG. The thing I like about a PNG is it has transparency, so when you put it over top of a website or over top of something, it does a nice job. SVGs are scalable and you can blow them up huge and they don't lose any of their resolution. But I'm going to save that as a PNG. I'm going to say save it as 100% PNG size. It's the size of the diagram, and export. And I'm going to then hit, don't want it on my Google Drive. I want to download it, save, and it just downloaded that. And now if I go to my, if I go to my downloads folder, let me go to my downloads folder. Let me get my downloads. So if I go to my downloads folder, here's the diagram, and then there's the PNG as a shape file that I could then load into and embed into whatever kind of document I want to use. So we're golden at this point. We've created a CDM. We've used the shapes. We've imported our shape file. Now, when you leave Draw.io and come back in later on the same computer, the shapes in the scratchpad will stay. So we don't need to reload them every time, just once. If you change your computer or clear the cache of your browser, you may have to reload the scratchpad, but you can always just download it again and drag it in, and you've got all of the shapes in one place. Now, most of these shapes exist in Draw.io. You just got to go search for them. There are some of the specialty shapes that don't exist in Draw.io that I've created for the use of this book and for your use. Use them freely, draw diagrams, have fun, model, be successful. This concludes our brief video on using Draw.io diagrams.net to draw a conceptual data model, starting with importing the scratchpad and creating a simple diagram, saving the diagram, and also exporting it as a PNG type graphic file so that you can import that diagram into one of your Word docs or into whatever kind of presentation documentation program you'll use. All of the diagrams seen in all of the videos, PowerPoint slides, and this book were all done using Draw.io
and
just the way
thank
you
you very
watched me
much
do
for
it.
watching.